So let me go ahead and bring up my old friend, Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, I mean that facetiously. Don't get mad at me. More like my old investigation subject, because I've been investigating Jeffrey Epstein since 2016, visiting his house for my documentary, Bringing Down Jeffrey Epstein, back in 2018. And this is an ongoing investigation that DropSite News has been doing. They're a very good website you should be following. Jeffrey Epstein helped Israel sell a surveillance state to Côte d'Ivoire. I don't know how to say it. I apologize. I think it's French, and it's a West African nation. Leaked emails show the details behind talks between Côte d'Ivoire and Israel, shepherded by Ehud Barack and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I've noticed recently in the last couple months, there's been this pushback, particularly against my friend and colleague, Whitney Webb, about her work around Jeffrey Epstein, and really just anybody insinuating that Jeffrey Epstein has ties to Israeli intelligence or intelligence at all. Namely, I remember Michael Tracy was giving Whitney a lot of flack for a mistake or two that was in her book, One Nation Under Blackmail, and Whitney even acknowledged that there was some mistakes made in there related to Alex Acosta, but people like Michael Tracy and others are trying to kind of give off this perception that means that there's no that there's no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein had connections to Israel or to intelligence. And, for one, let's look at his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and her father, Robert Maxwell. Of course, Robert Maxwell in the book Samson Option was called out as being linked to British intelligence as well as Israel intelligence. Then you have Les Wexner, who is the founder of the Limited Brands, Victoria's Secret, Limited Stores, billionaire based in Ohio, tied to the Cleveland Mafia, also part of the Mega Group, which is a very little known and little reported on group of, according to themselves, wealthy Jewish financiers who lobby for Israel's interests. And of course, Les Wexner is the one who sold Jeffrey Epstein his New York mansion reportedly for $1. And, so that's just a few of the connections that Epstein has to people who are tied to Israel or at least big supporters of Israel. Doesn't prove that he's intelligence. Neither does this story, I will say from the outset, but it is an important piece of the puzzle. And I hope that you guys will read the full thing. I'm just going to share a few of the details here with you. So Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barack were specialists in war profiteering. At the end of his tenure as Israel's defense minister and after his supposed retirement, Barack embraced the role as a salesman of Israeli security forces to embattled governments, opening the door for Israeli intelligence leaders to shape the security apparatuses of several African nations, including the country of Côte d'Ivoire. Ivory, I think is what they're saying there. Quietly facilitating these efforts was Jeffrey Epstein, who allegedly died in 2019. Epstein wrote at one point with Barack, with civil unrest exploding and the desperation of those in power, "Isn't this perfect for you?" Barack replied, "You're right, in a way, but not simple to transform it into a cash flow. Transforming unrest into a cash flow involved brokering deals between the Israeli state and this West African nation. New details about Epstein's role in Israel's intelligence operations in Africa have emerged from two different sets of documents. The first one, I think, has been criminally underreported and not enough people even know about it. It came from the website Distributed Denial of Secrets, and it was released by the Handala hacking group. They had an archive of emails that they leaked. So that's one set of documents. The second one is coming from documents released by the House Oversight Committee. That's where the source of this story is from. And from the House documents, DropSite News got access to Epstein's personal emails, his appointment calendars, and these provide clear evidence of Epstein's involvement in Israel's West African security negotiations in 2012, while Barack was Israel's defense minister. The two men worked together as a conduit for Israel's intelligence sector in this West African nation, where Barack was welcomed as a representative of the Israeli government, even though he was already retired. Epstein helped Barack deliver a proposal for mass surveillance of phone and internet communications in this country, crafted by former Israeli intelligence officials. So together, Epstein and the former defense minister of Israel come up with a mass surveillance plan to get the country to monitor the calls on the internet of everybody in this country. And this is, of course, just part of a series of articles that DropSite News has been doing. They did a previous one where they showed similar operations in Mongolia. But they say here, Epstein and Barack's private deal-making evolved seamlessly into an official security agreement between Israel and Côte d'Ivoire in 2014. Since the agreement was signed over a decade ago, President Alassane Ouattara has tightened his grip on power, banning public demonstrations and arresting peaceful protesters. He also won a fourth term, which is in violation of the constitution of that country. And different people have been activists have been arrested and criminalized, and this is coming with the support of Israel's security firms to help this guy maintain power, and his Israeli-backed police state, which has squashed civic organizations and silenced critics. And they have a quote here from an exiled activist, Boga Sakau Gervais, who said, "Under this president, since 2011, freedoms of opinion, thought, and expression have been criminalized. It has become forbidden to criticize the head of the state." And so this story of how Israel had a security agreement with this country is only one chapter in the saga of Epstein and Barack's covert activities in Africa, and it is reported as this next entry in their ongoing series. It's called Epstein, Israel, Ivory Coast, How Israeli Intelligence Built a Police State in West Africa. And they go through emails that came out in the documents. They got leaked images and things. This is a really good report that I highly encourage you guys to read the full length of, because, as I said, it really just outlines the role that Epstein played. And, we're told that Epstein was just this math teacher who didn't even have a college education and somehow ends up in finance and somehow ends up rubbing elbows with all kinds of powerful celebrities and politicians and people. And yes, the stories that get the most attention relate to the abuse of women, as they should, of young girls, the pedophilia, child trafficking, sex trafficking. But that's not the extent of the Epstein network, and people need to understand that as a big piece of the puzzle. But also, it's stuff like this. It's this espionage. It's the promotion of transhumanism and life extension technology, and involvement with Israeli intelligence as well as other intelligence, and selling these spyware to different nations around the world. I mean, this is the full extent of the Epstein network, and I still don't think enough people really even understand or can really grapple with how big Epstein was in the picture. He wasn't the top of the pyramid by any means. He was still a bit player, a small player for sure, but he was an important player nevertheless. And I don't even think that we have really fully contended with, and maybe never will fully understand, the role that Jeffrey Epstein played and how important he was to the pyramid of power. Again, not the top of the pyramid, but obviously an important go-between and a conduit between private industry, intelligence, and Hollywood, and politicians, and on and on and on, right? This guy was an important piece of the puzzle, and that's probably why, if he is indeed dead, somebody got rid of him, because having him around is just, it's too big a risk.